I challenge the broadcast industry to do what movies have done, to identify your program in ways that help parents to protect their children.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Broadcasting to you live from Love Canal.
Oh, it's a nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live here.
Western New York and all across the world. This.
Once in a lifetime, there comes a show whose sheer power eclipses all that has come before it. That show
is the Jonathan Fischer Show. And here's your host, Jonathan Fischer.
Here's Johnny.
Such an epic introduction. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh, man. Let's just double check now that we're live after doing a practice run yesterday. I just want to double check we're good. We're not going crazy with the volume. Hopefully y'all can hear me really well. A little nervous. We've been gone a year, and we're back. And we've been on Spreaker prior to that for the last 5 to 6 years, give or take. And we've been doing the show for now 14 years after, well, taking a year off. So if you want to take that out, 13 years. But this is our first year on YouTube. And I was basically hyping it up 2 years ago when we started season 13. And we only got a couple episodes in, but I was hyping it up that eventually this is where I wanted to go, down to YouTube and Facebook Live. And now we're here. We're finally on YouTube. And after taking a year off, I am so happy that we figured this all out. And here it is. The show is... You're seeing me now. You've got a name to a face now, a voice to a face now. You know who I am, what I look like. So, I know, not very attractive, but whatever. I have a voice for radio. I don't have a face for TV, but hopefully this changes things, right? So I'm going to stick to my script tonight. Usually when I do my shows, if you haven't listened to me on Spreaker before, I usually kind of just coast things. Sometimes I like to jot notes during the day, and then like, oh, here's what I'm going to address. But I've been off for a year. I've got a lot to vent about, mainly stuff recent, and I can bring older stuff up in future episodes. But I think for right now, I'm going to stick with tradition of how I always start every season off, and that's just with my best of. And now that we are on YouTube, there's things I can do and there's things I can't do. So if you followed me before on Spreaker, I usually played music and gave myself a break, between songs. That way I can reamp and figure stuff out for the next segment or two that I wanted to talk about. But here it's straight up talk. I can't play music. If it is music, it's royalty free or non-copyright music, stuff that I can legally play on YouTube. And of course, with YouTube being very strict on how we stream and how we present ourselves, I have to follow the rules. So with that being said, you probably won't hear music this time around, but that's okay because I'm going back to my original roots, the way the John Fischer Show was back in the day. And back in the day for me was 14 years ago. And when we started the show, it was just talking. So it won't be boring. It'll be exciting. I'll get the stuff that I talk about will get you thinking, will get you pent up. You'll be like, that guy is crazy. I can't believe what's coming out of his mouth. Or you might agree. Who knows? It just depends on the topic that I'm talking about and if it's of any interest to you. That's what makes it a really cool show. So that's my plan. That's my goal going forward with the show. Now, sticking to the script, why I left after taking a year off, and to be perfectly honest, and my fans have a right to know what had happened. Going into season 13, I felt that the radio show was taking a direction, or hitting, not a direction, it was basically hitting a peak. It was not going to proceed any further. And I kind of fell into a rut knowing that if I'm going to make things happen, I have to make the transition a lot quicker. At the same time, a lot of personal things happening here at home kind of interjected into what was going on with the radio show. And I felt that the time and the investment I was putting into the radio show would be basically nothing if I moved to YouTube. It's just a matter of the learning curve. And it was either do it now or take a break. Now, I'm very happy I took a year off. Don't get me wrong. The year off gave me the opportunity to relax and reset. build up that energy and that butterfly feeling you get when, oh, I can't believe the stuff that I've created, to now I want to present. And that's what happened. You know, over the last, I'd say probably over the last year, the 6 months I've actually put into redeveloping and rebooting the show on here on YouTube, finally got down to the wire these past 2 months. And a lot of creative and exciting things happened within the last month, give or take, that makes the show what it is now. Like the software that I use to present the video to you, the intro to you, the stuff that we can do here. You know, I can add this ticker down at the bottom and make this look a little cool. So there you go. Like all this stuff I had to learn. I didn't want to just be a basic podcast and you just see my face with nothing here at the bottom or any graphics or anything entertaining to interact with. If you've already started watching my streams, you've seen I've already played video games and showing off a gaming night. That's the excitement that I want to try to get out of this radio show, and I can't wait to keep presenting that for you. And that's where I kind of want to build off the show. And it's not just a show, it's a network, and I'm a part of that network. And with this being a network, I plan on bringing more people in. You may recall 2 years ago when season 13 or even season 12 prior to that, we brought a sports guest, Brad Schiavone. I've talked to him a few times and he's down. He's ready to come back, and I plan on bringing him back for his own show. He's going to have his own show, and we're going to have a really fun time talking sports again. And I said, hey, it's going to be on YouTube. Your face is going to be all over the web. Are you down with that? He's like, I don't care. That's the kind of thing I want to do. I want to bring people in and I want them to do their own show, and we're going to have a blast. So that's what I'm going to do going forward, especially with this show. We're going to have fun. We're going to talk. We're going to vent. We're going to just be irritating is what I want to say. Irritating and vent. Yeah. As far as the network, the Niagara Podcast channel, I'm only going to say this once and only on this episode, because obviously with the banner down here at the bottom with the ticker, it says exactly what I'm going to say. If you're new to the channel and if you're new to my radio station, thank you and welcome. Please subscribe to the channel, like us, hit the notification button, thumbs up, whatever it is, put it all down just to get it out of the way. Tell your friends and family, people you know, hey, tune into this channel, just hit the subscribe button. It helps me out. And as soon as I get more, like right off the bat, that's fine. I'll coast from it from there. I don't really care. I do care now, but eventually it will grow, and I get it. You can't build Rome in one day. You can't build Rome overnight. So I'm not expecting the same with my radio station, and I'm not expecting the same with my show. Also, go to my Facebook page, Niagara Podcast channel. Like the page there. That gets updated quite a lot more frequent than the YouTube channel does. So if you can like that as well, you'll get to see more stuff that I post. And that's now, I know I keep jumping back and forth. I'm just really excited. The music aspect that I did on Spreaker will be on Facebook. That is where you're going to see the stuff that's missing out of my show will be on Facebook. So stuff that I used to do on the show as far as broadcasting songs, the music videos will now be on the on Facebook for you to watch. That's what's missing, but I'm going to replace it and I'm going to put it on Facebook. So that way you're still getting the same package, just in different areas. So that's basically what's this show is going to be about. I know I'm repeating myself, blah, 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 blah. So just to briefly run down this, I don't want to keep blabbering because the test run I did yesterday went an hour and a half long, and that's not my goal. Anytime you watch the John Fischer Show, I have a timer over here, and it's going to tell me how long the show is. And right now, my goal is to keep the show anywhere from a half hour to at least an hour long. I don't presume it to be any longer than a half hour. This being our first show, it might go a little long, which is completely fine. But it's not going to go the hour and a half I had yesterday. And even at an hour and a half, I was blabbering and I had a lot to talk about. So I'm going to keep it short and simple. The stuff that I blabbed about was the intro of basically what we're doing and how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to keep that simple, and then I'm going to go into what I wanted to talk about tonight. So very briefly, eventually the schedule for these shows on the Niagara Podcast channel will start to come up. As long as you subscribe, you'll see them. Sundays I'm reserving for what I call Game Day Sunday, and that's where we broadcast a video game or some type of game, whether we find it online or basically anything. As you see, we play Gears of War 2 this previous Sunday. It was very laggy. I did fix the issue. It should be fixed going forward. I do have an appointment on Friday to have the computer looked at a little further because I run off a Mac Mini. So I have the Apple geniuses looking at it on Friday just to see what more could be done to boost up the stream and make sure the lag isn't there. If I were to do a video game right now, thered be no lag. I have everything pretty much dumbed down to the point where the CPU is just not overloaded. I do know that the RAM on it probably needs to be upgraded the best, but see, now I'm blabbing. But you see where I'm going. So Sundays will be Game Day Sundays, basically playing a new video game, whether it's an old game or not, but it won't repeat every week. Mondays is a new show that I'm almost done with. It's called Morning on the 90s. It's just basically me driving from Lewiston, New York to the Buffalo Niagara Airport on the Interstate 190, the Interstate 290, and Interstate 90. And the reason why I'm doing that show is because if you've ever been to Western New York, especially in the morning and driving during the weekdays when everybody's going to work, it is a crazy environment to be in, especially on the thruway. People just drive like assholes. So I thought it would be entertaining to have a camera watch me be completely oblivious to the people driving, because everybody goes through it. Everybody's got that routine where they have their perfect route, and then all of a sudden someone blindsides them and you start cursing the hell out of everything and you're like, why the hell is this guy in the road, blah blah blah. But we'll have fun with it. It's almost done. There's things I want to tweak, make sure I work it right. I obviously will not do it live. I had intentions of doing live shows for that, but that's not going to happen. It's going to be pre-recorded and then restreamed. The John Fischer Show obviously will be every Monday at 9 o'clock. Pretty much every one of these shows will be at 9 o'clock unless we get other things in. And then Fridays will be our DIY Fridays and do it yourself. Now that's anything from home maintenance, car maintenance, repairs on stuff at your house, whether it's electronics, appliances, whatever I can find videos that we can do around the house or we can present to you, I will do on that day. And especially lawn care, maintenance, and gardening. And I know I get made fun of this all the time about a gardening episode I supposedly did, I don't know, eons ago. I don't even remember how many years ago, and people still remember that I did this. I don't even remember this episode about gardening. But the funny thing is, it's not going to be like the simple, oh, how do you plant a flower, or how do you plant a tree, or how do you cut your grass? It's not going to be like that. It's going to be like, how do you maintain your lawnmower? Not a lot of people realize you should change your oil in your lawnmower every year, not just drive it into the ground every year. You know, how to winterize your summarize your snowblower. Now, and winterize. Yeah, let's go with winterize. How to get your snowblower up and running. Not everybody knows, especially those who have central air in their house, realize the type of furnace filter they need to use, or how to change the fuel filter, or not the fuel filter, the flame sensor that usually goes, that will eventually go. Sometimes they last forever, sometimes they don't, and they don't realize why their furnace just drops out. You know, there's stuff around the house that, you know, just common sense stuff that people don't realize they need to maintain. That's what the DIY videos will be about, especially with electronic repair. Now, I can only go so far with that for specific reasons, which I won't get into. But once I have the A-OK to do that, then we'll talk about electronic repair. But other stuff, such as appliances, maybe you have stuff in your house that needs to be adjusted. You can always leave comments, and if you want something to be seen as a video, I can always look into it and see what we can do as far as doing a video for it. So that's what DIY Fridays will be all about. Any other live streams that we do, or if I ever come on on air on YouTube, any other days or any other time, and you see me live, it's probably just because I'm just going to stream a video game. I'll do a little bit of talking, interact with people, just to get my name and more videos out there. But this will be primarily the main podcast until either I get Brad on the air or anybody else. who decides they want to get on the air, shoot me a message and we could talk and we could figure out what you want to do. That being said, I already talked about the Facebook page and new ideas and shows, and I kept that short and simple compared to yesterday, so that's great. So let's go into tonight's episode. All right. Get a little drink of water. So basically what I want to talk about, and we do this every year, and we did this every year on the podcast and the radio show, is every year that we start out, or the new season of the new year, or the new episode or the first episode of the new year, depending on when the season started, we always talked about the best of the previous year. And I made a list of things that I thought were kind of intriguing. Most of it's local. Other stuff is kind of like, not important, but stuff that I remember that was best of 2018. I also have a worst too, like the sad stuff. So, best of 2018, first thing I think of, the Bills, the Buffalo Bills. They made the playoffs right at the end of 2017. Obviously, I think they were in the playoffs, and it was 2018. Or am I not thinking that right? No, it was 2018. 17. Or no, January. Duh. Okay. Now, then the reason why I'm about to vent this is I have a big problem with this situation. I understand the Bills made the playoffs, and I understand the NFL rules and all that. To me, they got in, but I didn't earn that way to get in. And here I am. This is where I'm going to start and get under a lot of people's skin. This is how I do it. This is how I work. To me, I've always felt like, yeah, the Bills, they made the playoffs. They break the 18-year streak. But at the same time, to me, if you go to the playoffs, you should be able to make the playoffs and secure your spot. The Bills didn't have that spot. They had to rely on another team to get them in. Now, it worked to their advantage. They got in, that team lost, and here they are. They're in the playoffs, and they play against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they lose. And it was a pretty close game, so they could have still won it and moved on to the next round, which would have been huge. And then here comes this year, and there's the disappointment. But they made the playoffs. We don't have to sweat about it. We don't have to talk about another year lost. Me, I look at it as like, okay, you made the playoffs, but did you really make the playoffs? I mean, did you earn the right to be there? I mean, yeah, you were 9-7. You had a decent quarterback, not so much on the O-line. You didn't have a really good wide receiver crew. I mean, I get it. There are teams out there that make the playoffs with worse records. I've seen teams make it at a 7-9 record. That's how bad. And sometimes they go a little bit, and sometimes they don't. And I totally understand it. But at a 7-9, you better be winning the division, right? So, I get it. They made the playoffs. It's awesome. The streak is over. But that's my vent on it. Avengers Infinity War. Oh my God. I could not stop talking about that movie after I went and saw it in the movie theater. It was by far one of the best movies I've seen. And if you follow a franchise, like, for example, like Harry Potter. I know there's a lot of Harry Potter fans out there, and there's not a lot of Harry Potter fans out there. But if you watch it from day one and watch as it progresses and how they keep the same actors and actresses using the same role, and they keep making movie after movie after movie after movie, you get into it. You're invested into it. So with all the Marvel movies that they made, and using the same characters and making root movies and putting new characters here and then intertwining and making it all one thing and one big universe, it was so awesome to get fully invested into a movie again. And I wasn't too keen on the first Avengers. I was like, this is gonna be too many cooks in the kitchen, big time actors. It's not gonna go well. It was okay. The second Avengers, I was hooked. I'm like, okay, now I can kind of feel how this is gonna go. Like now the cooks in the kitchen are well molded in. The chemistry is perfect. I can't wait to see the next one. And here comes Infinity War. So happy I got invested in the Marvel universe, because this was by far my favorite, if not best, movie of 2018. I cannot wait till Endgame comes out and just be completely mind blown watching that movie. So, to me, best of 2018. Hey, the Buffalo Sabres won the NHL lottery draft. Woohoo! Last place finally did something for them. They get Rasmus Dahlin. It's a good defensive man, a young defensive man. I'm not gonna go there. No, I wasn't gonna say bust. He's not a bust. He's not a Jack Eichel bust. He's not a bust. Nobody's a bust. Everybody's young on the team, so they've got time to mature and mold into a new team. What I was going to say is where he's from. I always get it mixed up if it's Finland, Sweden. It's somewhere over there. It's one of the 50 countries that is in Europe. I know he's up there with the somewhere. But regardless, they finally win the lottery. They get a good draft pick. Actually, they get the best player in the draft, obviously. And here they are, playing this season, and they're doing very well in the beginning. They're kind of smoothing out now, and they're getting in a little rut, and here comes a couple injuries. It's expected. I get it. But we'll see how they coast out the rest of the year. They look pretty good. I'm really interested. I'm invested this year. And yeah, I'm a bandwagon fan. I'm a diehard local fan. Like, I don't root for anybody outside of Buffalo except the Yankees in baseball. I'm not a Canadian fan as far as baseball goes. I'm not a Blue Jays fan. I'm a Yankees fan. I'll get to that in a minute. But I'm a Buffalo fan. I'm a Bisons. I'm a Bandits. I'm a Sabres. I'm a Bills. I'm a big time Buffalo fan. But I'm with them when they lose. And I'm disappointed. But the bandwagon I'm talking about is I'm fully invested when they're winning. I want to be there. I want to be a part of the entertainment. When they're losing, I just don't care. I tune them out. I'll watch here and there. But when they're winning, absolutely. So this year, I finally went to a Sabres game. It was the second game that they won in the 10-game winning streak that they were in. I was so happy to be there. It was a close game, but it was fun. It reminded me of the old 2007 Buffalo Sabres when they had Briere and Drury, and it was just amazing. Every time they were out on the ice, you knew, any of the players were out on the ice, you knew something big was going to happen. It was just fast-paced, action-packed hockey. But they won the lottery draft. I'm happy that they got their player. We'll see what they do. They make the playoffs this year. That's great. That breaks that streak too, the Sabres' longest playoff drought streak that they've got going. So I would love to see them snap it this year. This is a year first. Let's put it this way. So there's a couple of year first. So Sabres win the NHL lottery draft. Capitals win their first Stanley Cup. Congrats to them. Ovechkin lost his mind. Wow. I could not believe how, I mean, I've never seen a player celebrate so hardcore about a championship. I mean, congrats to him and congrats to Washington. Just another team that won the Stanley Cup before the Sabres did. Hell, the Eagles won their first Super Bowl. Good for them. I'm happy. Philadelphia wins another championship. It's Philadelphia's first championship since the Phillies, I think, won the World Series there. So congrats to them. And they did it with their backup quarterback in Nick Foles. Now, Nick Foles, he's a veteran. He's a good quarterback. And he wins the MVP of the Super Bowl. And he beats the Patriots. You know, Carson Wentz was supposed to be this stud of a quarterback. And he gets injured. Nick Foles comes in. They look like the little flaky, weren't going to make it in. They get in, completely dominate in the playoffs, and show off in the Super Bowl with their skill. It's amazing. And they're doing it again now. Carson Wentz gets injured. Nick Foles comes in. It kind of looks a little rough. They make the playoffs. They completely stun the Bears in the first round. And, well, the Bears ultimately lost it themselves, too. They should have made that field goal at the end. And here they go now. They're in the next round. Are they going to go the distance again? Are they going to go to the Super Bowl again? Oh, my God. And I have the team in our work pool. I have the Eagles in the spread. So I don't know the spread yet going into this game, but they're playing the Saints. And I have a feeling if the Saints whoop their butt, depending on the spread, sorry. You know who you are. Sorry. I'm apologizing now if you're watching, but sorry. But it'll be interesting. I can't wait to see. So Eagles are probably going to be the underdog in that game. If they win, I continue to go. And it's shocking that the Eagles, with a 9-7 record, are going on and still doing the same thing they did last year. It's shocking to me. Red Sox win the World Series. And they beat L.A. the L.A. Dodgers. Now, my father-in-law and my brother-in-law, my father-in-law's father, they're all Dodgers fans, and I I always kept asking because a coworker of mine, he's a big Red Sox fan. And I asked my in-laws how they felt about them going to the World Series for the second year in a row and now ultimately losing to the Red Sox. And they're like, they're bummed, but they're happy. You know, the Dodgers, you know, they have a very weak organization. And just to continue to dominate the way they are and making the World Series, I mean, I hope they go this year just to be just to see that, you know, my in-laws be happy about the Dodgers going. But I mean, if the Yankees are going, I'm rooting for the Yankees. Good for them. But the Red Sox, I mean, they dominated all year. They were the better team in the entire MLB. I wouldn't expect anything less. I mean, the Yankees gave them a little run for the money, but at the end of the day, once they got to the World Series, you knew it was just a matter of time. And for them to win the series 4-1 and just dominate the Dodgers, even after the Dodgers won that one game, I'm like, the way that they're playing, the Red Sox they're just too good. They're too good. They've got the right pieces in the right spots. They're going to win this World Series. They're going to bring another championship to Boston. So congratulations, another Boston championship. Woohoo. Speaking of LA, and we'll keep it on LA, LeBron loses a championship with the Cavaliers. He moves off to the Lakers, gives the city of Cleveland what they want. They got their championship. He's taught it. He doesn't have to leave the city on bad graces like he did the last time. He gave the city what he wanted. He has much love for his hometown, but he goes to LA and they're doing all right. But my rehearsal, I was doing this yesterday. I vented about why LeBron would go to the Lakers instead of just finishing out his career in Cleveland. I don't know a whole lot about the NBA. I'm not an NBA fan. I watch basketball. I watch more college basketball than I do regular NBA or just NBA. I don't have to say regular, but I'm just not too into basketball. And the only reason why I'm semi-venting about LeBron right now is, I just don't, other than just living in LA, like he has a house in LA, other than just going to LA, I don't really understand the point of going there. I don't think the Lakers are going to be a good enough team to contest in the West for a championship when you have a stellar team in the Golden State Warriors, and have to face them. Let's just say you just keep going to the Western Conference Championship every year, and face the Golden State Warriors if they make it every year. I mean, I would rather be in the NBA championship and have a chance to win a championship rather than try to beat that series in the Western Conference Championship only to go to the NBA championship exhausted because you put so much energy into that. It's kind of like the Washington Capitals. It's a perfect example. Every year they've put so much energy into the playoffs that they wear themselves out and they can't move on. Now, luckily, last year they figured it out, calmed themselves down, went through the teams they needed to go through, and they won the championship. But LeBron, good for you. You have no reason to prove anything else but to yourself to do what you want to do. And I'm not venting at all about what LeBron did. I'm just not confused, but I question it. So, but good for him. He goes to LA. He's an LA Laker. And to stay in LA, you got two really good stud football teams there now. You got the Chargers and the Rams, both in the playoffs, both in the divisional round now. And I can't wait to see if this is going to be an all LA championship. I mean, the Chargers still have to go through Tom Brady and the Patriots, but the Rams still have a legitimate shot to make the championship. And if it's an all LA final, what? That's going to be crazy. Political and current events, 2018, you've seen the unemployment goes to its lowest since 1969. Canada legalized weed. It becomes the second country in the world with Uruguay, I think, that legalized weed. Voyager 2 reaches interstellar space 6 years after Voyager 1 did it in 2012. It's past the Oort bubble that the sun's gravity can go no further. It's the second man-made. It's only okay, I don't want to go nerd on this, but the Voyager mission was two spacecrafts that were supposed to go by all the planets past Jupiter. So Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. They were going to take pictures and then just fly out into interstellar space eventually. Now, mind you, this started in the late 70s, and they're finally reaching its destination now, and they're going to keep going further and further and further until there is no more. And the documentary I just watched on Netflix this past year said that it will take them at their present speed, and they are going very, very fast. At their present speed, it will still take them roughly 12,000 years before they even come close to a star or the nearest star in its current projection. Wow, that's mind-blowing. But yeah, then the sad stuff. Of course, biggest one, George W. Bush, he passes away, the boy senior, not the boy junior. Bills not making the playoffs this year. California wildfire, the biggest wildfire in state history, called the Camp Fire, destroyed a lot of celebrity homes. Like, no, it's bad. I understand. Very destructive. It cost a lot of money, and it engulfed a good percentage of the state. Not the whole state, because the state's huge. But yeah, it's pretty sad that every year you hear at least 4 to 6 major weather events devastating some part of the country, and you keep wondering why it happens. Yeah, it's global warming, but how do you have a president that doesn't believe in global warming? It's not global warming. Global warming is not a thing. Come on. All you have to do is go outside. Western New York, as you know, go outside right now. I mean, not right now, but this whole month, it has been above average weather, and you tell me there's no global warming? Are you kidding me? Best way to put an example. Sorry, nose itching. Best way to put it in an example is, I'm 32. I was born in 1986. I could remember up until I graduated high school that every winter, starting right after Thanksgiving or maybe even a little before Thanksgiving, it got cold. And it got cold enough to where it produced snow, and snow stayed until April, maybe May, but usually April, and that's when you start seeing everything thaw out, and it would thaw out pretty quickly. I'm 32 now, and this has been going on for roughly the last 10 years-ish, right? Where's the snow? Where's the cold? It doesn't stick around. Sure, we get the lake effect snow, and sure, the lake effect snow is in the southern tier mostly, but it's in the southern tier. It's not in the north. It's not a widespread snow like we usually get every year, at least the snow I remember when I was a kid. And you're telling me there's no global warming? Western New Yorkers will know it the best. Like, how is it 60 degrees in the middle of February? How is it 60 degrees in January? We had a 57-degree day in the beginning of this month and this year. Already. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And you're telling me there's no global warming. Right. Major store closings. Sears. Sears is pretty much almost dead and gone, and here we are in 2019. In 2018, here in Western New York, we had a couple of stores. I had one right across from where I am in the studio. That was gone. It's been around for the longest time. In fact, it's a vacant mall. It had a Toys R Us, it had a Sears, and a Bon-Ton that were all left. All three closed 2018. Well, the Toys R Us was closed way prior to that, but it was in the mall. That mall that was there. The mall has been gone for quite some time. Like, it's vacant. The mall is still there, but it's vacant. It's closed up, but the outside stores still remain. So the Bon-Ton, Sears, the Toys R Us that was there, they turned it into an Aldi's, which is like a little food store that they have here in Western New York. That eventually moved out. So now that mall is completely cleaned out. There's nobody there. It's just an empty piece of land with a vacant big-ass building. So Sears, Bon-Ton. Bon-Ton's trying to make a comeback, which I don't understand. Don't come back. Nobody shops there. Every time I've ever walked in there for whatever it is I thought I needed, it's always been dead. It's like it's like you walk in and it's a museum for clothing and stuff that they're trying to sell that nobody wants to buy. Kmart's been around for a while. And same with Sears. Sears is one of the older ones. But Kmart, I remember as a kid being one of those go-to stores to get your pictures done at. You go in there and there's a little Caesars in there back in the day. I haven't been to a Kmart in years, kind of like the same as me going to Darien Lake around here, which is a theme park. It's been a long time since I stepped foot into a Kmart. We actually have one out here where I am in the Falls, and that's closing down. I said Toys R Us and Best Buy Mobile. Best Buy is re-innovating themselves in a way where I kind of like the direction they're going in. They're becoming more of a sales rep-y type seller. It's kind of like the theory of, I'm the type of person that likes to see things in person. I'm not the type of person that likes to shop online, because if it's something I need, I want to get it now. I don't want to wait a couple days. And if I know a store carries it, I'm going to go to the store. That's why I was really upset that Radio Shack went in bankruptcy and closed a ton of their stores, especially the ones around here, because I need stuff that they carry, and now I have to buy them online. Granted, it's way cheaper online, but at the same time, I have to wait for it. So something I'm trying to set up here in the studio, or like the TV behind me, or the Xbox, or the relay, the HDMI setup that I had to do in this, I had to buy all that stuff online and wait for it. I kind of wanted to get the stuff done now, because setup is the more fun part. So that being said, I understand what Best Buy is doing. They want people to walk in. It's basically like a mini mall for electronics, appliances, and computers and tablets and stuff that they're selling. You know, they got away from the CDs. They told everyone, like, hey, we're not selling CDs anymore. The mobile, I understand, because you can't really compete with a very cheap vendor in Walmart. Target sells their onesie twosies there, but it's not a big seller for them. But you got AT&T, you got Verizon, you got T-Mobile, you got Cricket. They all have their own individual stores. So why compete with them and sell your own stuff and try to get them to sell when they're basically putting their own little pop-up stores out? So I totally understand. Not a big deal. Did I ever go there? No. But if I did walk into a Best Buy recently, I was kind of stunned how when you walk in and each section is different. So now you have like a home entertainment center where they got the theater systems and the security systems. And then over here's your computers and your accessories. And there's sales reps and customer service reps everywhere with knowledge to help you do what you need to do. I applaud them. I applaud them for doing how they've gotten to this point. Do I still think they're okay to buy stuff from? You're going to get good knowledge from the people that work there, but still, they're not. I don't want to bash Best Buy. I'm not going to bash Best Buy. That's not what I want to do. But it's kind of like the trial and error scenario. Go ahead and try them out. If you got something you want to go buy, try to buy one from Best Buy. And if you like the experience you get from them, good. Then continue to use them. I've get mixed reviews about Best Buy. The Geek Squad, the installation, the customer care, all that. There's mixed reviews across the board. It's stuff that Best Buy, I know, is working on because they don't want to go out of business. They don't want to close stores. I totally understand. It's fine. So I'm not going to bash Best Buy. But yeah, that's one of the last stores that closed, is the Best Buy Mobile Center that they had within it. I need some water. All right. How's everybody doing tonight? Doing pretty good? Hanging in there? Nobody in the chat? That's one thing I forgot to talk about. If you're watching me live on YouTube or even on an app, and I'm 100% live, you can go into the window on the side, or on your device, you can scroll up or turn it on its side, and there'll be like a little message thing here. Right now, it's a free-for-all. I don't have any restrictions on the chat. You can go ahead and chat and put spam or whatever you want in there. Eventually, I'll get to that. It's still a work in progress. But I have a window, and I'll put it on right now. This is what the window looks like. And when I have it up on my computer, I can see if anybody's chatting, has questions, stuff like that. I wasn't expecting a big audience tonight because it just was kind of not a last minute advertising of me coming back on the air. But eventually, if I'm going to keep the Wednesday schedule going, there you go. So I can see the chat and I can post a chat on here while I'm live just like it is right now, and I could switch back and forth. That way I can read up on the chat and then say, hey, you know, answer questions, whatever you have. I'm very good with cars now. I educated myself on cars, and I want to keep that thing going. So if you ever have questions about the cars or maybe stuff around your house, I could try the best to answer it for you. Some electronics, not all, not that great. That's a lie. I'm pretty good. That might be a lie too. All right, so let's get into the vents. I had a bunch. I had 3. I was just going to stick to a 3 type routine every night. And we only have a couple minutes left. So this is how we'll end the show with the vents. You ever been in Niagara Falls? If you haven't, you know, it's a cool thing because it's one of the 7 wonders of the world. It's a very cool park-like atmosphere right at the falls. But have you ever driven in the falls and just kind of like taken in the history and the atmosphere beyond the falls and just the city of Niagara Falls and its pros and cons and stuff that goes on? It's quite interesting. And my big primary vent that I've been watching over the past year is how Niagara Falls got into the rut that it's in now, and its financial issues that they got themselves in. They solely depended on a big chunk of the money from the casino revenue to fund most of their budget. And since that was cut off, Niagara Falls became in financial woe. And I don't think they understood the severity of what the city was going to go through without this money. So my vent is, now that, and I heard this on the news today, now that the casino revenue is going to come back and you're going to get that money, and I don't know if you're going to get any back pay from it, and now you get to go pay the whoever that was attached to that money now, what did you learn? You know, you've had a year or a couple years to figure this out in this financial woe that you've been in without having this money. How have you been able to adjust the city to work around not having the casino revenue? Because I think that the casino revenue should be a bonus for the city. I think leaders of the city of Niagara Falls should understand that they shouldn't rely so heavily on income that is out of their control. It's not a New York State casino. It's not a casino built for New York State. It is a Seneca Nation casino, which means it's sovereign land to the Senecas. They don't even have to pay the state. It's a deal that was made between the governor and New York State and the Seneca Nation with their casinos. Now, I don't know too big in depth in this. I'm not going to go crazy on the vent because I need more information to explain how I feel about this. But someone who's a citizen of Niagara Falls and someone who basically sees the struggle the city is going in already, even with the casino revenue beforehand, it's kind of mind-boggling. Actually, it's a big mind boom that, what do you do now? Do you figure out a budget where your casino revenue gives you more money, or do you refactor that budget or that money into your budget to pay off debt? I mean, granted, you're going to pay off debt regardless. You want to get the city back in the green, but your city's suffering already. Like, Niagara Falls infrastructure as far as its pipe system, its water lines, its streets, they're decaying so bad. Like the streets around the area that I live, there's quite a few that need some major attention. Complete overhaul of relapping, not just put pavement back or resurface. I mean, needs to be redug up and then resurfaced. And I see certain streets do it. Like the city of North Tonawanda did this a couple of years ago, like the riverfront River Road. The whole section between the town of Niagara and to the city of Tonawanda, where the Erie Canal is, needs to be completely redone. Why they did the section where Gratwick Park is a couple of years ago, that wasn't that bad. The section between Gratwick Park and the Erie Canal has always been bad. How they got that section done first before that, the section between Gratwick and the Erie Canal is blowing my mind, because I'm like, all right, this needs to be done. It's getting really bad. The plows are making it worse. So here comes the summer. They patch up the holes. I'm like, all right, this has got to be on their docket to be fixed. Nope. As soon as the winter time hit, I'm like, oh, here we go. If you're driving down River Road, you're going to have that problem again. And sure enough, the road is completely torn up. So North Tonawanda, I hope you really have that in your plans this year to do that entire section from Gratwick all the way down the River Road. Because it's not the city of North Tonawanda you're helping here. It's a main artery from the North towns down to the South towns, gliding across the river instead of going over the Grand Island Bridge. A lot of people use that River Road. So I'm very concerned to see if North Tonawanda is just going to repatch it back up, or are they going to tear it down and resurface it? Now I get it. The argument is it could be a county highway, whatever. No matter what, it goes through the city of North Tonawanda. The city of North Tonawanda has precedence over it first. They need to get on whoever it is that controls that road and get it repaired. It's the same thing with the city of Niagara Falls. Anybody who's watching this podcast from the city of Niagara Falls knows you should get on your representatives and say, listen, this street is torn up. Whether you need to come out and patch it now or you need to resurface it over the year. I get budget restrictions basically prevent you from doing that, but the big problem is these roads have been untouched for years. Minor improvements, and even the improvements are very minuscule, but they need to be done. And I think there should be a way where you should be able to go through your budget and understand this is what needs to be done this year, instead of, okay, we're going to just continue the same routine and pay these things. We'll do little projects here and there. We'll redesign the park front. You have pretty much half of downtown Niagara Falls still undeveloped. I think you should bring people in. You need to bring, like what the city of Buffalo is doing, remodernize it. It just looks so bad. Like if you go in one of the tall buildings where there's, I forget the name of the restaurant, you can actually go to the top of the building and get a nice little view of downtown Niagara Falls. And you get a view of downtown Niagara Falls in Canada. And they have all the skyscrapers, but they've got the perfect view of the falls. We don't. I mean, we get to see the top of the water go over into the gorge. I get it. It's not going to attract a lot of people with high rises. You'll get some hotels because you're right there. The city of Niagara Falls is known more for the park rather than the city. And you are onesie-twosie getting the downtown area revitalized, but at the same time, it still looks really bad. And I'm hoping you have a plan. And I'm not just saying you as in one person. I'm talking about all leadership of Niagara Falls. I hope you have a plan. I hope you have something you can present saying, listen, I get it. Downtown looks bad. The suburbs of Niagara, the city of Niagara Falls, need to be completely looked into and updated. The city is just in a financial state of disaster that we have to dig ourselves out, and we may have to suffer a little bit. But in the long run, it's going to be the citizens of the city of Niagara Falls that are going to suffer more for everything that's going wrong. And whether it's new leadership or a complete change in hand, I don't know. And I think I leave that up to anybody who lives in the city of Niagara Falls to figure that out. Wow, okay. We've only got a few more minutes. I've already vented way too much about one topic. Let's see. We'll do two more because I don't want to go too crazy. There's a couple events here, but I'll save them for another show. Anybody who knows me very well knows that I have this pet peeve about Spectrum. And for those who don't know what Spectrum is, it's a cable company and internet provider in Western New York and in New York State. They took over for Time Warner, who took over for Adelphia. That was in this area too. It's just basically a cable TV provider, internet provider, and now apparently they do cell phones and phone towers and mobile plans, stuff like that. My vent is not really going to be a negative vent. It's going to be more of a realization vent. I hated Spectrum. I'm going to come flat out and tell you I hate Spectrum. And in no means is this going to be a bash on Spectrum. And in no means is this going to be a you should get Spectrum kind of thing. This is going to be an educational Spectrum thing. When we moved into the studios that we're in right now. We decided to go everything landline. And of course, the only carrier in Western New York that carries cable is Spectrum. At the time, it was Time Warner Cable. Nobody in the area offered anything different. You couldn't find anything. It's not like Comcast is in the area or any of these other places. If you go down south or out west, they're not here. It's just Spectrum, or I'm sorry, Time Warner. And we got them. And ever since we've been in the studios, we've constantly had issues with our network. I've had Time Warner out here constantly trying to figure it out. Couldn't figure out what was wrong. They've had been at the pole. They've changed my modem. They've done this in the house. They rewire the house. They rewire this. You name it, they've done. Then Spectrum buys them. And Spectrum says, you know what? We can offer you 100 megabytes per second service. Now, Time Warner only offered 30 as their greatest, and if you were a business plan, you got more, but it wasn't anywhere close to 100. Spectrum says 100 across the board. Whether you're business or a resident, you get 100. And I thought that was pretty cool because that's amazing. That's way more. It's more than 3 times the speed I'm getting now. So no brainer. I was grandfathered in from Time Warner, and I said, you know what? Let's just stay with Time Warner and just grandfather into a Spectrum plan. And we got the plan, and constantly still had issues with the network. We had Spectrum come out. We had them look at everything. They rewired the house. They gave us new modems, and you name it, we constantly had problems. Now, at the same time, they were having issues with New York State and being here. They promised New York State that they were going to upgrade a lot of New York State to the point where everywhere, even in poor areas, but poor coverage areas, we're going to have this network. And then that was the big fight between them. And basically, New York said, you're done. We're kicking you out, blah, 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 blah. Fast forward, they ended up getting extensions and stuff like that. Whatever. They work on their stuff. We still had issues. And we kept getting the runaround how Spectrum said, because everybody shares the same network at the pole, it's going to have lag, it's going to have this, it's going to have that. But I'm like, yeah, but I never had these problems when I had 30 megabytes per second with Time Warner. I have 100 megabytes per second, and I don't even get that. It's a fluctuation between 100 and 30. Like, it should be steady. And at the same time, I can actually tell on my computer when it's not running. At 30 megabytes per second, I was still able to load pages pretty quickly. At 100 megabytes per second, I couldn't load. But then when it load, it'd be fast, and everything would load up really quick. And I found that kind of funny. Now, I'm making a bigger story out of this, but what we ended up finding out was it was the modem. The modem was none of their modems that they were selling were compatible with the network coverage that they were providing. And they didn't figure this out until they got into this whole rut with New York State. And I found this very educational with one of the techs I talked to, and he was very cool about how explain this, and it made perfect sense. Prior to having this experience and this talk with with one of the techs, I was advised, why don't you just buy your own modem, because you're basically spending an extra $5 a month on a modem that you're technically not yours, that you're going to give back to them, so they're just getting an extra $5. I ended up buying my own modem, and it fixed the problem. Never had any issues since. Then all of a sudden I start having issues when Spectrum started changing their system and software around. This is when I found out from the technician that Spectrum made this big change. So the modem I bought is an all-in-one. It gives you the Wi-Fi, it gives you the phone line, blah, blah, blah. It's my modem, activated through Spectrum. They phased out all-in-ones, and I started having issues, and they didn't realize that. And when I had a tech come out to the house, he informed me what had happened, because now Spectrum is a part of a company called Charter One, or Charter Communications. They're basically taking over everything Spectrum and saying, listen, this is our services, this is the product, sell this product to the customer free of charge. Do not charge them the modem, because we want to, if they want to be on our network, we're giving them our equipment because we know our equipment works with our network. They gave me a new modem and a separate Wi-Fi router, all from Spectrum, that has the Spectrum logo on it, but it's Charter One communication stuff. And I got to hand it to them. I don't pay a modem lease. It's amazing. because it's their equipment, they just expect it back when they're done. That's it. Just take care of it. As long as the equipment works, we're fine. I had that in 2 months ago. Haven't had any issues since. My network is so much better. I applaud Spectrum now for making that switch. There's still things that they can fix and improve on. I get it. But what the realization was, when Adelphia was around and they were making this network because technology was growing so super quick, they made a lot of mistakes on the way in this area or in New York State. When Time Warner bought them, they didn't realize the rat's nest that they had just basically took over, not just from the bankruptcy and getting Adelphia out of bankruptcy and all that. They inherited a huge rat's nest of problems here in New York, and they tried their very best in fixing them. It was kind of just putting Band-Aid on Band-Aid on Band-Aid and making things work. When Spectrum came here, they knew about the Band-Aids and they knew how to fix them. But what they didn't realize was how many Band-Aids there was to fix and how many areas to fix them in and how to make the network streamlined. Spectrum is 70% there. I still think they got another 30% to go, especially across New York State. And they're doing an amazing job. And this is where I don't mean to glow, and I'm not saying I'm a big Spectrum fan yet. They still have a long way to woo me and impress me and whatnot, because competition drives everything to be better. And Spectrum has zero competition here in New York State from any other cable provider. That's what I want to see. I want to see competition, because competition, one, drives prices down, and two, puts performance up. That's what I want to see. Right now, because Spectrum is its own monopoly in this state, we get high prices and okay tech service and stuff. They've improved. Don't get me wrong. They have improved on how they're doing stuff. But how many times a year do you see, or every couple months, Spectrum's rates are going up? This is going up. Everything is going up a couple extra cents. Your bills constantly keep going up, and that is because you have zero competition. If we could find a way to motivate another cable company to come into New York State and compete with Spectrum, I think you would see a very interesting scenario here in New York State with prices down and performance up. That would be awesome. Last thing I want to talk about, because I only have about a minute or two left, and I know I'm going on, and we kept it to an hour. Thank God. It wasn't going to go the hour and a half. Last thing I want to vent about is child safety in a car. New York State, or not New York State, Erie County, and I wish everywhere would do this. I wish this would be a national law, not just a county law. Erie County passed a law, if you haven't realized this, that you can no longer smoke in the car with your kid in there. It should be a law regardless. You shouldn't be able to smoke in your car anyways, because if they want to inhabit this hands-free environment, if you can't be on your cell phone, you should have nothing in your hands when you're driving. Period. No food, not your phone, not even a cigarette. I think that's exactly how the law should be. But because you're still allowed to smoke in your car, you're still endangering the lives of people who are in the car because you're smoking. It's a no-brainer that smoking causes cancer or cancerous side effects, or it's unhealthy to be in that environment and to have your kids. I'm a prime example. Both of my parents were smokers when we were kids, and they were constantly smoking in the car. We'd always smell like cigarette smoke. We would stink of it. I mean, I hated it. I hate being around it now. It gives me headaches the minute I even smell it. I hate being around it. So I'm really happy, and I applaud Erie County for passing this law. I'm very happy about it. But I wish it would be streamlined across the state and even further with the entire nation. You cannot be smoking in a car or smoking in a car with kids. And I wish that would be everywhere. And my big vent with that is it took so long to get to that point. I mean, you're getting to that point in time where marijuana is going to be legalized everywhere. And what do you think people are going to be doing in their cars? Smoking in cars. Not in Erie County, but everywhere else. I mean, now that you can still smoke in cars everywhere else, what do you think they're going to do with weed now that's legalized? They're going to smoke weed in the car. They're going to get their kids clam baked and shit, you know? Oh, here comes the swear words. Sorry, family friendly. So that's one of my vents about that. My other vent about that child safety in cars is the car seats. I I have 2 kids and 1 on the way, and that I'll get at the end of the show is about the 1 on the way. My big concern is the safety board or whoever it is. I don't know if it's a New York State or a national thing. I think it's a New York State thing. They said it's, I don't know if it's a law or it's just highly enforced, where your kid has to be in a rear facing car seat until they're 2 years old, or they're so many pounds, or their height is. When I had my firstborn, I was told about this supposed rule or law or something like that. Now that I have, my second son, he just turned 2, and he outgrew his rear-facing seat. And I mean outgrew. I'm not saying he's growing fast and he's tall, or he weighs a lot. I'm saying, or enough to say, hey, this is legal for him to go front-facing. I'm saying for many of us who drive cars, especially cars that are small and have this compact, it's not like a full-size sedan. It's one of those where the back seat has very little leg room and it hits the front seat. For those parents, and parents will, relate to me on this, rear-facing car seats are a huge pain in the ass, especially if it's on the driver's side. A lot of parents put it on the driver's side because it's super easy for them to just put the car in, buckle them in, get in the car seat instead of going around the car from the passenger side. In fact, it's safer if it was on the driver's side because most people are going to want to veer this way so the car hits the passenger side and you're protecting your kid. I get the safety reasons of why doing rear facing is, I get the impact of it. But my kid is not comfortable in a rear-facing seat, especially up to the age of 2. By the time he was I'd say about 20 months, so it's about a year and a half, I couldn't do it to him. He looked super cramped. He did not look comfortable. He was miserable. At the same time, his car seat was at its max, pushed all the way out into my seat. So I'm driving like this against the steering wheel just so that he can have a little bit of comfort. But I think I'm more important because I'm the one operating the vehicle. So my agility to turn the steering wheel and make sure that I have the proper amount of space to drive my vehicle should be more important about my kids' not safety, kids' comfortability back there. I flipped that shit around. The seat went front facing. He was way more happier. He was actually enjoying because he could see everything. He's not looking at a seat all day. He's now looking at this. He looks out the window. He's like, Daddy, look, school bus. Daddy, look, dump truck. I'm getting all that now. It's so much more entertaining. I'm enjoying my car ride. And I can actually do this. Now, granted, I changed my cars in that time. I now have a full-size sedan, a 2011 Ford Taurus. It's basically a huge police car. So he's got more than enough room if I wanted to rear face it. But if I were to rear face it now, he's 2. He's going to be cramped. There's just no way he's going to sit there. His feet kind of dangle now over the edge of the seat. And now this is where the argument, that'll work. That'll be fine. He should be rear facing, but no. As soon as in my assumption, every car seat has to pass a particular safety check because of accidents. Rear facing, the reason why they want it rear facing is because if you had a head-on collision or whatnot, the force of the body is from the back. So the back is going into the front of the car. Whereas the front, if you're front facing, you're like this. So the seatbelt is basically tugging you. I totally understand. I get that. That's the only issue we're having here. But my fear is he isn't comfortable. If my theory is if his feet are starting to dangle over the edge and I've maxed everything out, he should be in the front, not the front seat, but he should be front seat positioned. He's going to constantly be constricted back there, and I'm going to fuss getting him into the car seat. There is no car seat available today that gives that option of them sitting proper in the car. In fact, start them young. flip them and show them exactly why they need to sit like this with the seatbelt on. They're going to sit rear facing. I mean, granted, they're going to figure it out eventually, but it's a routine, and routines are really good with younger kids because then they start to understand why they need the seatbelt in the car and why they are facing this way, why they have so many safety restraints, blah, blah, blah. I know I'm blanting about this, but that's always been my pet peeve about child safety restrictions in a car. Just keep it basic to the point where it saves your kid, not to the point where it makes everybody uncomfortable because they're interested in seeing what we're seeing, or they want to look around and stuff like that. They're looking at the back seat of a car. They're screaming and yelling. We have to deal with that when they're driving. Now we're all restricted because the seat's pushed into our seat. It's just, if you're a good driver and you feel comfortable doing what you do, and this is where I say, you know, I don't care if the law specifically says this, because no one in their right mind understand or believes that should be the way it should be. Like, come on, for safety, there's just too many things in play. I'm not going to vent on that anymore. To just, because I'm going to get too worked up on it. And there's pros and cons to everything about keeping your kids safe, and, oh, you're endangering the welfare of your child. Like, no, I'm not. I'm very good at driving. I'm very safe. He has to be comfortable, and I have to be comfortable to drive my vehicle. I have to be sane to drive my vehicle. It's just cut and dry. Last thing I want to talk about, and that's it. People. When you're driving, especially at night, turn your freaking lights on. Or more importantly, don't use your high beams. I cannot tell you how many times I'm driving at night and either somebody's lights aren't on, or they have them on in a weird position to where their front lights are on but their rear lights aren't on. I don't know how that works. I've never seen that on my dash. Because if you put the parking light, that one little switch for the park lights that just turns your blinker lights on solid and your back lights on, and not your headlights, that's all it turns on. So where is it on these cars? A switch or some type of, is it a flaw, or maybe something's broken to where just your headlights are running, but your actual lights for your back aren't? So people, when you're driving at night, just you should always be doing a quick double check of your dash. Just make sure everything is turned on. Like, a lot of these modern cars now have that auto light switch on. Just keep it in that position on auto light. And then once you turn on your car, just verify real quick. Obviously, you'll see your lights are on. You'll see that your brake lights are on. It's not hard to identify that they're not on or not. And just go on about your day. The other thing, make sure your high beams are God-forsaken turn off. If you have that blue indicator light in your dash and that is turned on, that means your high beams are turned on. I don't care if you can't see, because the way that they make lights now in cars, especially on a rainy night, and anybody who drives on a rainy night will understand, you can't really see the road. That's why you're supposed to drive a little bit more conservative and understand that, hey, there's restrictions on the road. I should probably drive a little slower, put the wipers on a little higher. My lights, your lights in that particular situation are only used just to verify where you are on the road, especially with street signs that reflect, because that's what you'll get more of. But never turn your high beams on, because one, you're affecting the driver that's coming at you, because once he takes a look at your car, even for a split second or two, and completely understands you have your high beams on, and he goes to refocus and looks down his lane, that's all he's going to see burned into his retinas is your high beams, because they're too bright. I've done it too many times, especially in this area alone with the streets, where people put their high beams on for whatever reason. There's so many freaking street lights, you don't need your high beams on, or you don't even realize that they're on, that I get blinded and I can't see the road. So everyone, do yourself a favor. When you get in the car, just quickly run through your dash, make sure everything is set the way it's supposed to be set, and make sure you have things that are off that aren't supposed to be on. It's clear, cut, and dry. I know, that's my biggest fan. I've been wanting to talk about the street light thing, or the car light thing, for a while now. It drives me insane how many times I see people driving with no lights on in their car when they're driving around at night, or their high beams are on, and they know they're on, and they drive right by the guy like, hey, asshole. I'm like, yeah, I can't see now, thanks. Unreal. I hate people like that. All right, people. That's going to do it for the John Fisher Show here on Wednesday, January 9th. This is episode 1, our show called YouTube Live. We're back on the air. I'm happy to be with everyone. Go to our Facebook page, like us there. I just posted a poll before we went live. Baby Kaylee, our baby girl, is on the way. It's my 3rd child, 2nd with my wife. I can't wait to meet her. She's coming April 18th. That's the due date. If you look at the poll on the Niagara Podcast channel on Facebook, I have a poll saying, when do you think she'll be here? Will she be here before April 18th, or will she come after April 18th? It's a 6-day poll. I can't wait to see the results, and I'll put the results on our next episode next Wednesday, January... Oh, man, I don't even remember when our next episode is. Holy crap. Pull up the calendar. Next episode, obviously, the John Fisher Show will be every Wednesday night. Next episode is Wednesday the 16th. It will be at 9 p.m. Do not miss that episode. We're going to go straight into venting, and we'll talk about anything that popped up that week. That episode will be a half-hour episode. It's because we've been off the air. I've got stuff I want to talk about. I'm sorry it went so long, but I'm very happy you tuned in and you joined me tonight. I really appreciate it. Thanks for all the fans who stuck around me all these years. Thank you for coming back. Please tell your friends, your family, like us on Facebook, and subscribe on the YouTube channel. We're not going away now. We're here forever, and I can't wait to keep bringing this back every Wednesday, maybe more. Next episode, or next stream will be this Sunday for game night. That is the game we are... the game that we are broadcasting this Sunday is Geometry Wars 2 off the old Xbox 360 system. I have that on the Xbox One, and we'll do a couple other games after that. Our goal for that is doing a couple of challenges too, so it'll be pretty cool, and see if we can beat some high scores. So I hope you join me this Sunday for that stream. Also, if you subscribe, you'll be able to see if I go on any random live streams from this point forward up until Sunday. But the next scheduled show is this Sunday. So once again, thank you for joining with me live tonight on our first episode of the John Fisher Show. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.